about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of our listeners wants me to advise you guys on what is the best over-the-counter medication for cough and cold. What do I like to use the most? And this is good. I have no sponsors, in that realm. So you're going to get the honest answer from me on this. And I don't think anybody should, if they do have a sponsor, give a dishonest answer. I tell you what my go-to is. It's the hot shower. I know that doesn't sound really good, to a lot of, but I've used the Robotessins and the Mucinexes, and yes, they do. I have used them. I've used Sudafed. I've used Dayquil, NyQuil. And they work, but the best thing that works for me is jumping in the hot shower. Now, when I'm sick, I take maybe 6 of those hot showers. Then my husband's like, oh, come on, man. Our water bill's going to be ridiculous. I live in Southern Nevada. Our water bills are just generally, the prices we spend on water is just absolutely ridiculous. But I got to tell you, when I can't sleep at night and I'm coughing, I get up, I take a hot shower. It stops the cough and I'm able to go back to sleep. When I feel congested and I have to go on air, I just, I know it doesn't sound the most exciting. It's just, it works for me. Now, I've also been asked multiple times by patients how they could get a doctor to write the Phenergan with codeine, or the previous remember there was that grape flavored Pan Cough PD. And these cough medications that had narcotics in them, they're still around, from what I understand. I haven't written them in years because the company I work for, you don't write narcotics because you can't write them over the phone, over the telephone. And so many individuals are like, look, I'm using all this stuff over the counter. Nothing is working. Now, why are they saying nothing is working? Well, because then they used to take those medications. It would help them sleep. If they slept, they felt better. Their immune system could build up. If they weren't coughing all night, they weren't irritating their lung linings. And so it was it was something that doctors used for a long time until we had such an issue as it pertained to narcotic overuse, that then we ended up, having to say, no, sorry, guys, we can't write these. Now, like I said, there are still doctors that will write those medications for your cough. It's not ideal, and it's not anything that we recommend. But I see where patients are coming from when they're like, look, I would go to sleep and I wouldn't be coughing and coughing, because right now what you're getting is, if you're having, let's say, a bronchitis, and most bronchitises are viral, and the doctor's not going to give you a Z-Pak for bronchitis. They'll give you something for your cough. They'll tell you to use Mucinex, or they'll tell you to use, or the COVID. Yeah, like if you have COVID, we're not supposed to treat COVID with the Z-Pak. I know some of you claim the Z-Pak made you feel better, and I get that, because I feel better with Z-Paks too. But technically, we're not supposed to treat COVID with a Z-Pak. Z-Paks need to be saved for those people who need it, that have community-acquired pneumonia, or are penicillin allergic and have strep. So we need the Z-Paks for patients that don't have a virus. And so for the cough, you're given Tessalon Pearls or benzocatate, which is a prescriptive strength cough medicine. For some people, it works amazing. For others, no, not. Then some of you are getting steroids. Some of you are getting inhalers. And I'm noticing, and this is what you're noticing, that sometimes you're given 3 or 4 medications when you feel like in the past you just needed 1 teaspoon. Now, keep in mind How long ago was it when you got that 1 teaspoon? 2012? Remember, you were a little younger back then, so you could bounce back a little bit more. So, my go-to, just, tea, honey, chicken soup. The Jews know what they were doing when they came up with chicken soup for the cold. There's anti-inflammatories, there's the warmth, the fluid, it's just the vegetables. I think chicken soup is, one of the best treatments. But I also remember when I was younger, the reason why we had cough syrups with alcohol or codeine is because that replaced alcohol. I remember my mom saying she won't stop coughing, and my grandmother said, give her some schnapps, give her some schnapps. And my mom's like, I don't have schnapps. My mom didn't have a lot of alcohol in the house. And she's like, I'll bring some over. I'm like, go grandma. And I'm 6 years old going, whew, I'm going to get some schnapps. I got to tell you, it knocked me out. Now, we don't do that because alcohol actually messes with your sleep. And it can mess with your cough reflex. And alcohol is not good for cough. Unfortunately, people who are not accessing a medical provider or a regular medical provider, they're just doing what works for them. And sadly, they're drinking. Or they're using old pain pills to stop their cough. So we talk about cough a lot on the show because unfortunately people, get coughs. And I think there's a lot of things you could do that are natural. That, as I said, humidifier, steam, honey, tea with honey can really help. We could also use, natural remedies like peppermint, thyme, eucalyptus, licorice, ginger can also provide relief, even chocolate. So chocolate has theobromine. Now, theobromine can suppress a cough. And there was a study back about 10 years ago that said it works better than codeine. Chocolate. And I noticed I'll take some chocolate and it'll go down. The only problem is you really don't want the sugar and you don't want to feed illnesses with sugar. But also if you're having a cough and it's not COVID or bacteria related or whatever, it could also be your medication. It could be acid reflux. It could be mold in your house. It could be a heart condition. It could be a lung condition. It could be that you vape a lot. So get that checked out. 1-877-DOC-Daliah.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So the Supreme Court has sided with the Trump administration where biological sex has to be on the passports. The High Court found in a it has to be your biological sex, not your desired sex, if you're transitioning or considering transitioning. The High Court found, according to Fox News, in a 6-3, they voted 6-3, temporarily greenlighting the policy that a lower court in Massachusetts blocked. They said displaying passport holders' sex at birth, no more offense, equal protection principles, than displaying their country of birth. In both cases, the government is merely attesting to a historical fact without subjecting anyone to differential treatment. They said the 3 liberal justices dissented. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, blasted her colleagues in a lengthy dissent for what they're saying. She said it's routine that they side with the Trump administration. And, this was a class action lawsuit that was brought by a dozen self-described transgender, non-binary, or intersex people on behalf of themselves and others in their situation. And they say they're going to, I think, continue to proceed through the lower courts. The plaintiffs argued in court papers that passports should reflect the sex people live as and express rather than the sex they were assigned at birth. Now, Solicitor General John Sauer wrote on behalf of President Donald Trump that passports effectively communicate information to foreign governments, and private citizens cannot force the president to communicate in a way that defies his foreign policy preferences and scientific reality. So the policy reversed the Biden administration's allowance of putting an X on their passports, which I guess Trump had reversed with his executive orders. And Attorney General Pam Bondi had said that today's stay allows the government to require citizens to list their biological sex on their passport. In other words, there are 2 sexes, and our attorneys will continue fighting for that simple truth. And so I know a lot of people are kind of looking at this, and I have individuals who are transgender, in my extended family, and I'm really, really happy, for her, and she seems to be more happy than she's ever been, and she's, flourishing. But, as a doctor, we always have to go back to the basics. And so, people always ask, Dr. Daliah, how are doctors handling this? If you have somebody coming in, are you going to get in trouble asking them what their biological sex is, or what? So from when we had people transitioning, when I had my practice, I would ask them, I would, again, honor how they want it to be called. Whatever their name is, I'm going to honor that. But I would ask them, do you have ovaries or testicles? I need to know, because I need to manage, there's going to be screens, and I need to look for pathology a little differently if you have ovaries, versus testicles, the different testing. And for, at the time, every one of my transitioning transgender patients were just very, understanding about that. Nobody felt, biased against. They were actually like, thank you. Now, I know I'm identified as a man, but yeah, I do have ovaries. And also, I ask that of biological women. Do you still have your ovaries? Have you had a hysterectomy? Yes, I've had a hysterectomy. Did they do you still have your ovaries, or did they also remove your ovaries? A hysterectomy is not inclusive of a bilateral oophorectomy. When somebody's had a hysterectomy, it's just their uterus, uterus, which I think some people want to change the name because they think hysteria, it's all about uterus, and they think that's biased against women. I'm fine with the term, but anyway, hysterectomy comes from the removal of the uterus. A partial hysterectomy does not mean your ovaries stay. A partial hysterectomy is technically where part of your uterus remains. People confuse this all the time. If your whole uterus is gone, you have had a total hysterectomy. If they left the cervical stump, in the past, they used to do that for pelvic wall support or other things, or for sex. They used to keep that, so you would have a partial hysterectomy. They started to stop doing that because then we still, have to check you for cervical cancer. And if you've had a partial hysterectomy, you still need pelvic exams, and some people might forget that they still have one. And so then I think by the 90s, 2000s, they said, we're going to stop doing this. We're just going to remove the whole thing. No, we don't think you necessarily need your cervix anymore if you have your uterus gone. But a partial hysterectomy is rare, but that's where you still have your cervix. If you still have your ovaries, you had a hysterectomy, but you still have your ovaries. If your ovaries are removed, it's called a bilateral oophorectomy. So, a bilateral salpingo oophorectomy, because they also take the tubes. So, as a doctor, we would ask, do you still have your gallbladder? Do you still have your appendix? And nobody got insulted by that. It was, nowadays, we have to be very, very careful not to misgender, and if the software says male or female, some people have gotten really upset. There was a mom who got really, really mad because I was calling the child the name on the software. And she said I misgendered him. But that was the name on the and I couldn't see the patient. This was on the phone. And so telemedicine companies are scrambling with what to do. But they have symbols and signs to tell the medical provider, and it's still not perfect because I'm still seeing with some telemedicine platforms, you have somebody who says they're male, but then none of the female questions or diagnoses are populating. So that is an issue. It should just populate no matter what. But we have enough, I guess, alerts that look, this patient is saying they're male, but they're female at birth. So don't forget to ask them about their ovaries and other, and then So because when you're a doctor, you are responsible for their health. I get that you want to identify as who you want to identify. That's your choice. But I'm responsible for you. And if I assume you have a body part that you don't, that's then on me. And I need to be thorough. So from a medical standpoint, what they've been doing is there's a specification letting us know you're biological male or biological female. And that was kind of necessary. And, if it says X, then the doctor has to ask, are you a male or female? And if they go, well, I'm obviously a male. And they're like, I'm sorry. You're identified as male or you were biologically a male? That and TSA agents and passport that gets a little tricky for them, because also now that there's lawsuits for misgendering, so it's very interesting. What a lot of people don't realize is these lawsuits and these ACLU complaints and issues where somebody is misgendering is one of the reasons why healthcare companies and passport and government agencies are trying to simplify that. They don't want for people to have that conversation going, whatever is on your passport is who you are, from a identification standpoint. And then, if your name, you want to change your name, you could change your name on your passport. You could change your name. But in terms of identification, that's, I guess it helps simplify that, because they don't want people to go back and forth going, do you have a penis? Do you have a vagina? That's private, right? Somebody doesn't want to sit there and talk about that. Every time I go in and out of the country, usually they want to know, how long do I want to stay? Am I a citizen? I was asked a lot, am I a citizen of Israel? And I'm like, no, I'm not. My father was, but I'm not. And they would ask me a lot about that because of my name, and so they want to make sure I'm not leaving when they need all hands on deck with the hostage crisis and stuff. Which thank God now is calming down because the hostages came home, not all of them, sadly, but the luckily the interview doesn't involve my genitalia or whatever. So if the passport is simplified, but the idea of identifying you and the need of identification. When a skeleton is found, we can tell if you're male or female based on the pelvis. It's very easy, even on x-rays. It's easy to, so how do we do that if you have forensics, police, foreign security? These are things where they need the biological sex. But, how we do it in medicine is there's alerts so that we understand that what you might be identified as might not match your biology. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So under health headlines, because we also give health headlines, this is the Dr. Daliah Show, but we also cover all headlines that we can. They are calling it God Stress America instead of God Bless America. And they say 76% of young adults are worried sick over the State of the Union, and 2/3 of young adults look to flee. Really? You think it's better in other countries? I mean, you get deported in other countries. You have socialism, which doesn't necessarily seem to be liked by, I've spoken to Canadians and, UKers and French and Italians. Everybody gets grumpy. It's always, the grass is always looks greener. But according to Independent, nearly 2/3 of young adults in the U.S. have considered relocating to another country due to the state of the nation. 76% of Americans are feeling sick about the current state of play. Now, you could count me in. What happened with the Democrats not signing the CR and see the chaos that we're seeing right now with the flights and how people are not getting paid and how politics is messing with our lives and they're not representing us. Yeah, I could see that. I get sick. I also am sick of seeing how divided people are. Who cares if you're a Republican or Democrat? Who cares? Oh, you're American and we're American. We got to unite. And we can't just be single party rule. We have to be able to have, diverse opinions and make sure we're putting America first. Instead, I think what depressed me was we had a president who was told to let as many people in so they could tip the numbers and tip the scales so Republicans never win another election. The day Republicans never win another election, or the day Democrats never win another election, is the day our democracy fails. We can't be single party rule. And I feel more people are asking for that because they think the other side, it's not about their ideas, it's about getting more votes. And then when they're in, it's about, it is a mess. But would I leave the U.S.? Nope. Not unless they start to turn like Nazi Germany and want to start murdering Jews. Although, you know what? I wouldn't leave. I'd fight. You want to come for me and my family? I'm armed. I don't think I would run and flee. I think I'd stay and fight. A new survey of more than 3,000 U.S. adults, 3/4 of Americans said the future of the nation is a significant source of stress in their lives. This is according to the American Psychological Association report. So, political divide, they also, I cite loneliness. They're lonely. Well, because rather than going on a date, they're going to porn. Rather than hanging out at a pub, they're going to social media. One thing that I found really, really cool when I was in England is we decided to drive. My husband wanted to see with the kids some castles. It's really interesting. It's not that expensive once you're in Europe. You just got to get to Europe. Once you get there, it's actually cheaper than visiting places in America. The food's cheaper. The hotels are cheaper. So I'm like, let's drive around and see some castles. And we're looking at a map, and I go, Dover? You mean like the White Cliffs of Dover? Right? There'll be bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover. And I was like, that Dover? He's like, I think so. And I'm like, well, let's go to Dover. So we go there, and there was a pub. You had to go underground. You had to go downstairs underground. It was a pub. Yummy. I think we had, soup or something that you would get at a pub. And then I did see the White Cliffs of Dover. The problem is I had to lean over. You saw the White Cliffs of Dover when the troops were coming back, from fighting overseas or coming back, from France. You could see the White Cliffs, meaning you're at England. But I got to tell you, when I was in that pub, when you saw the camaraderie, I mean, I grew up with that show Cheers, where Norm would come in and they were like, Norm, everybody knew your name. Now, I don't advocate drinking every night and not going home, right? Right? Norm would be like, they're like, how's Vera? Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen her in days. Yeah, and he'd make jokes about that, but he loved his wife, Vera. But the idea of this is where I'm going to hang out. This is where I'm going to get the news. This is where I'm going to get the gossip. This is where I'm going to know what's going on. And then I'm going to go home and be with the family. People don't go to the pub anymore. It's also expensive. Now, true, people are on chats and Discords and, they talk maybe that way, but it's, you're looking at an avatar. So if adults age 18 and 34, and 63% said they had contemplated leaving the U.S., and more than half of parents surveyed said they considered doing the same. What I want to know is, where are you going to go? Why did they want to leave America? A third of them said it was because America was corrupt. 32% said it was fear. 41% said it was because they wanted freedom. Now, maybe it's because I'm a woman, but there's a lot of places where I would not be able to have my long, dyed blonde hair. I would not be able to be in media. I would not be able to do what I do. There's a lot of countries where I couldn't do that. So to me, I feel America is pretty damn free from that perspective. Do I think there's corruption? Absolutely. Do I think Americans feel fear? Yeah, I do. There's some scary things going on right now. Anti-Semitism on campuses. Many people are fearful that they might get deported. And that is a fear. Now, if you're here illegally and you violated the law, then that does come with the territory. I mean, if I stole from somebody or if I snuck into Germany and I wanted to try to be there and Germany found out, I'd always have to worry about being deported. I mean, anywhere you go, Canada will deport you. Yeah, if you're there illegally. But if you think you went through the legal process because Biden promised you everything and you don't know when your court date was or you think that ICE may make a mistake, that could be scary. But, where did they flee from? If they came to America 99% of them said they did that because they wanted to leave where they were. Where they were was worse. So if those individuals are the ones being surveyed, the ones who fled Mexico, fled Venezuela, fled Guatemala, fled Haiti, then where would they go to? And if there is a safer place, I'd like to know about that, because then all these illegal immigrants that want to come to America, we could tell them, look, there's even a safer place. So I'm thinking the majority of those people that are not the ones who fled to America because America was safer than where they were living. I think those Americans are ones that are citizens, and they are, I guess, and what are they fearful of? Are they fearful there's going to be a military draft? No, they didn't say that. What I do think is validated is their fear of the economy, AI replacing their job, housing costs, artificial intelligence preventing them from having a career they always want to have. That I think is a valid fear. Well, we knew stress was on its way up, but I just want to know what they're stressed about and what we can do to fix it. 1-877-Daliah. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So hundreds, if not thousands, of flights are going to be delayed and canceled starting today, as the FAA has to protect our safety, because our amazing air traffic controllers and TSA agents and everybody that has to work, at these airlines who are on the government payroll still don't get paid, waiting for the Democrats to sign the CR, which they signed before multiple times and helped create. And so, unfortunately, this is really going to mess with everybody. And for those of you, as I said when I opened the show, planning on flying somewhere for Thanksgiving, you really might want to rethink changing your flight and just driving somewhere. the chaos, even if the 5 Democrats that need to sign it decide to buck up and do it. Being that it's November 7th, there's the delay, the bottlenecking that it's already causing. I don't think is going to be clear by Thanksgiving. I think we're already going to start feeling it. They say they're bracing for travel chaos. It's already been chaos. My son and his fiance were flying back yesterday. Everything seemed to be fine, initially, and then you just saw delay, and the delays were over 3 hours, and one plane delayed, another plane delayed, flights canceled. If the flight is canceled, they need to hustle and try to put passengers on other planes, and then if that flight is canceled, then that plane isn't coming to that that hub or that airport, and then they need to find another plane that's available. And I'm amazed that they could do that. And I'm surprised that, the FAA didn't just say, you know what, we're not going to make these people work for free. So we're just going to close down the airport until the Democrats sign the CR. They signed it before. They helped write it. We can always deal with Obamacare, legislatively, which they came up with themselves, but don't be punishing people based on, Obamacare, which you guys made also. But I understand that they're trying to allow people to do what they need to do. Unfortunately, those who work at airports, even though many of them are private, you got angry passengers and grumpy people with 3.5 hour delays, and they're not sleeping and they're not eating right and they don't have their medications. It's a mess. And a lot of people are going to be calling out, which is going to make even more delays. Remember I told you I was waiting on a flight. The flight was delayed. They said, guys, the plane is here. The crew is going to clean and then get ready for the next. And then apparently somebody needed to call out. They're like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not feeling well. And then I'm like, then hire me. I'll be the stewardess. Please let me be the flight attendant. Just give me, I could train. I know it's a lot of training, but let's just get this plane. And we couldn't get the plane off the ground because even though the plane finally got in, now, the flight attendant had to call out. And I don't blame her. If she's sick, she should. But, these are the things that just cause more and more delays. And if the flight attendants are sick of people yelling at them, call out. It's a mess. And then when you have air traffic controllers who need to pay rent, need to pay their bills, need to pay for gas, and they're going to go with, again, no paycheck. They have to Uber or do something else to make money. And by the way, a lot of people give Uber and Lyft crap. I thanked them during the COVID pandemic for what they were able to do to let people make. I mean, you know how cool that is? For if you don't have a job and you need money, you could apply and then do something like that. That's pretty cool. That's an option. Unfortunately, the food banks are strapped. The food banks are saying, look, we have all these federal workers that need food. We can't keep this up. Plus, we're coming up on a stark winter. We need to feed our homeless. When is this going to end? Well, the Democrats are saying, oh, it's about Obamacare. That is so dumb. I mean, we see right through that. And Obamacare was their fault. Of course, subsidies and trying to deal with the insurance is a priority with the GOP. Trust me, anybody, you give the GOP an opportunity to fix Obamacare or to replace it with Trump care, they're going to want to do that. But that's not a part of the CR. Now, what do? Well, airlines are scrambling. They're adjusting schedules. As of last night, the delays were ridiculous. And mind you, it was, it was coming from Newark, and, Newark is always kind of a mess. But, globally, their FlightAware is saying there's 16,472 delays, cancellations, 1,200 cancellations, total cancellations within the United States, 858. As of yesterday, there was about 202 cancellations. So that shows if right now, as of, and I broadcast, during the morning Pacific time, we're at 858. You can bet that number's going up. Southwest has canceled 3% of their flights, 14% are delayed. United, 2% of their flights, 8% delayed. Delta, 1% of their flights canceled, 7% delayed. I'm hoping that, this number doesn't go up. What do you do? So if you have to travel this weekend, pack your patience. Make sure you have a plan. If it's not a direct flight, and there is going to be a stopover, you might want to, have a plan on a hotel you could stay at or a friend you could stay at. Warn your family, let them know. We don't want you getting mad at the airport. Just understand that the TSA lines are going to be long. And I know you're going to say, yeah, but I have TSA pre-check. Those lines are long too. Just be patient. Be nice. These TSA agents are working without money. Not cool. And they're nervous because their kids need food, clothes, plus they're tired because other people are calling out. I would, if I were you, really reconsider flying. Now, how else is this going to affect all of us? Well, many people are saying, look, it's like me. I don't fly anywhere usually Thanksgiving or Christmas. I work. It's my busy time. That's when patients need me the most, so I usually work through that. And then I have a conference at the end of January, that kind of stuff. But if you think you have a flight that you're going to need to make next year, you might want to get that flight purchased now. If you could get it refundable, even better, because these airlines are losing billions. And I don't want you to play a violin, but if these airlines have to lose money because of the shutdown, where all this travel, they have to now refund for delayed or canceled flights, where do you think they're going to try to make up the money? On your flight in February, on your Easter vacation spring break flight. It's interesting. I need to go to Reno for a wedding in May. And I bought the tickets a month or two ago. And they were almost $400 or $500 round trip. Are you kidding me? And I used to go to Reno, for 99 cents away or $99 away or something like that. It was really, and that was before all this happened. These ticket prices are going to go up. And so for those of you thinking, maybe it'll be fine. Maybe the shutdown will be over. Even if the shutdown's over, the delays are going to be there. And another thing you have to remember is TSA agents are quitting. The air traffic controllers are quitting, especially now that they see what these politicians, before the continuing resolution, it might have been a little bumpy, but they finally perfected it with a 24-page clean bill. And now that's not working anymore. Democrats are bragging and celebrating how they are using this as leverage. So if I was an air traffic controller, God bless you guys, I'd be thinking to myself, wait a second, is this going to happen every few months? So hang in there, guys. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.